Hello, sports fans. Big D back, and it's officially draft week. So guess what? We're talking draft. Before I bring in David, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Stretching Sports YouTube page, Big D Podcast, Spotify, Apple. So join us. The only guy who saw Deion Sanders play in college, baseball, football, and now will be covering Shador Sanders in the NFL this coming season. David Moulton. So. David, how was Dion? How was Dion as a baseball player?
Dion was awesome. It's funny, the first time I encountered Dion, the baseball player, he was playing AAA for the Columbus Clippers, the Yankees affiliate, and I was working in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I was a sportscaster, but I was also part-time on the side delivering pizzas. And so Dion had a doubleheader against the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Red Barons, is what they were called at the time. And um, I worked during the day and actually covered the first game of the doubleheader, and then had the evening off and went to work for Domino's Pizza. And they had the second game of the doubleheader go extra innings. And somebody from the clubhouse ordered a pizza, and it was to be delivered to the Lackawanna Hilton, which is in downtown Scranton, probably 5 minutes from our pizza joint. And we were told, deliver this pizza at this time to the Lackawanna Hilton, and one of the baseball players will get off the bus and get it. Okay. And so I got there on time, and the bus was maybe, a minute later. And there was a crowd of people there waiting. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll, wait or what have you. And Dion comes off the bus and he sees me, and I'm in a blue and orange Domino's outfit with the hat, and I've got his pizza, I've got his dinner, but he's got about 15 people who want autographs. And to Dion's credit, he had just played a doubleheader. He had played, and the one game went extra innings. He had played over 20 innings, and he played center field, and he batted leadoff, and it was a long, hot summer day. And there he is at 11:30 at night, and he just wants to go into an air-conditioned hotel room, eat, and go to sleep. And Dion, to his credit, signed everybody's autograph. All right. And then I gave him the pizza, and he thanked me for waiting, and he gave me an extra tip because I waited. And I remember thinking to myself, I'll be damned. It's Dion, son of a gun.
And then Dion, and then of course Dion played the World Series with the Braves a few years later.
Right. I think I could be off by a year. I'm thinking this is 89, summer of 89 with the Yankees in Columbus. Maybe it was 90, but yeah, he wasn't a Brave yet. He was still a Yankee.
Yeah, now we're going to be talking about now we'll be talking about his son. So that's how times fly. That was all before me.
Well, I mean, it was 35 years ago. I
Yeah,
mean, so, talking about his son now is, it's time. And, big story is, when's he going to be taken? Probably Thursday, but if so, when and by who? Does he make it past the Giants at 3? Does he make it past the Raiders at 6? To me, if he makes it past the Saints at 9, look out. Then I think he falls all the way to Pittsburgh at 21.
yeah. Honestly, this draft feels like it's a starter draft, not a star draft. Last year's draft was a star draft with guys all over the place. This draft feels like there aren't that many stars, but there are a lot of starters.
Well, think about it. 6 of the top 12 last year were quarterbacks. You also had 2 wide receivers taken. So, I mean, you were, you know, star makers, point producing guys were right there for the taking, franchise altering guys, number one receivers and franchise quarterbacks. That was the top third of last year's draft. I mean, for as wonderful as Abdul Carter is, are we sure he's franchise altering? I mean, even if he's Micah Parsons, is that franchise altering? I mean, that's a great player, but is that franchise altering? I mean, if Travis Hunter, let's just say he goes both ways. Now, he won't play full time both ways, but let's just say he's a tremendous corner and he plays about 20 snaps a game on offense and he's a productive offensive player. Is that franchise altering? Maybe, but probably not. What's franchise altering? Usually quarterbacks. And right now, there's only one that people are willing to put their jobs on the line for, and it's Cam Ward.
Yeah, and who would think the guy who started his college career in Incarnate Ward's going to be the number one pick in a few nights? But is Cam really good, or is he a product of maybe not having the quarterback talent from last year?
Well, there's a lot of people who have done if Cam Ward was in last year's draft, where would he have gone? And I think he would have gone fourth. I think the top three picks would have remained the top three picks. I think it would have been interesting between Drake May and Cam Ward. I do. Now, I prefer Cam Ward to Drake May. But I think if you say Drake May goes 3, then I think Cam goes 4, because the next three quarterbacks taken were Penix, and then it was J.J. McCarthy and Nix. I think Cam Ward goes before those three. I do. He's played a lot more football than McCarthy. He's a better prospect than Nix. Penix had the injury concerns, and he doesn't have the mobility that Cam has. So I think if Cam was in last year's draft, there's the possibility he would have gone 3 in ahead of Drake May, but I think he goes 3 or 4.
Yeah, I feel like Cam's a tween. I mean, I really love Cam's tape this year, even though Miami's offense was weird with what Mario Cristobal did. But I mean, Miami's defense was atrocious. I mean, Cam had the throw, and he threw a lot. Could run. I'm not sure Cam's necessarily a willing runner. Could he be like a C.J. Stroud in the case?
Oh, yeah. I don't think you're running RPOs with Cam, but he's athletic enough and mobile enough that, he'll get out of the pocket twice a game and get you a first down and get you those 6+ extra snaps.
And then the big question is going to be, what do you see with Shador? Because there's a lot I like about Shador. He's accurate, played a lot of fun, played football, played behind a terrible offensive line in Colorado the past 2 years. So if he went to a bad team, let's say Giants, he he won't be befuddled by the NFL landscape or playing behind a crappy old line. But is Shador good? Is he great? Or is he, I don't know. I don't know what to think of Shador.
He's accurate. He throws a very catchable ball. He holds on to it a long time, though,
Yeah.
which makes you wonder how will he deal with going to a team that has an average or below offensive line, like the Giants, or New Orleans line is getting worse by the week here. So I'm not sure Shador should play right away. But now that's what you do with your guys unless they're not healthy, like JJ McCarthy. So, there's a part of me that wonders, like, I think Shador would benefit from how the Giants treated Eli Manning 20 plus years ago, where he sat the first 9 games of the year. Kurt Warner played. And then when they thought it was time to play Eli, they played him. And even then, he wasn't ready, but they thought he was at least ready enough to not get his butt kicked. And he lost his first 6 starts.
Yeah. And with Russ and James there, Shador wouldn't have to play. So I mean,
I don't think who they brought in has any bearing on what they're going to do. I have to be honest. I think this is 2 totally different tracks. You're drafting your quarterback of the future in this draft. If you're someone like the Giants were securing 2025 is what they were securing with Russell Wilson and or Jameis Winston.
but getting Shador, which hopefully secure the
They would
next.
not, but they won't play Shador. If by chance they take him, they're not going to play him.
I
They're
would.
not. Okay, they're just not. Now, maybe late in the season is lost. We might as well play them, get them some experience. Fine, but I don't consider that playing, if you know what I mean. I'm talking about if you draft a guy in the top 10, like if Carr's reportedly out for the year with an injury, if Shador gets drafted by the Saints, he's going to play quickly. I mean, if he doesn't play right away, it's probably because he doesn't have the playbook down to the extent that somebody else on the team does. But Kellen Moore is going to put him in there quickly if they draft Shador at 9.
And then the other two quarterback prospects who intrigue me, one Jackson Dart, the other one Jaden Miller. Now you saw them in 23 at Ole Miss and Alabama, respectively. I don't know what to think of Jackson Dart because I mean I'm hearing more and more people like Jackson Dart, but when I saw Jackson Dart play big games against Alabama or Georgia, he was not good.
Well, and a lot of people in your parts also saw him against Florida in November of last year, and he did not have a good game. Where if they had won, they would have gone to the playoff. So my concern about Jackson Dart was my same concern about Bo Nix. I'm not huge on guys who don't throw the ball downfield in college. You know, Bo Nix threw 40+% of his passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. I would like to me, that's you don't learn anything about a quarterback when that's the type of offense that they're running. Turns out Bo Nix can play a little bit. I would not have drafted Bo Nix. That could turn out to have been a mistake by me. Um, Jackson Dart, interestingly, was invited to the draft, originally said yes, and now has opted out of going. Now, is that just a personal choice, or has he opted out because he's hearing he may not go in the first round? Meanwhile, Milroe was invited and accepted. And usually they don't invite guys if they don't think they're going in the first round. So that's interesting that Dart is staying home and Milroe will be in Green Bay.
Yeah, and there's a lot I like about Miro. I mean, he's raw, but he's got a huge arm mobility. I mean, you saw that crazy play to win the Iron Bowl against Auburn. And I mean, these run pass option quarterbacks. I mean, I'm not saying Jane Miller's close to them all, but he's got a little freakish athleticism.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, he's the fastest quarterback in the draft. He's the best running quarterback in the draft. He's very smart. I mean, he graduated early. He's an honor roll kid, a 2-year captain. I mean, the guys like him. He's a leader. He's smart. He's got small hands because he's got a fumbling problem when he gets hit in the pocket. Uh, my thing with Milroe, but I had the same deal like Jalen Hurts coming out of Alabama. Before he went to Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma, Jalen Milroe was not allowed at Alabama to throw the ball over the middle of the field. Okay. I mean, he wasn't. The offensive coordinators at Alabama did not want him throwing the ball in between the numbers and certainly not in between the hashes. And if you look at the throws at Alabama, they were at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage, or from the numbers to the sidelines. They did not want him throwing the ball in traffic. Okay. Once he went to Oklahoma, he developed into a better pocket passer. And then obviously he's continued to develop when he was with Philadelphia. So, that's the other thing. These guys can get better. Right now, Milroe's got a bit of a problem from the pocket. Okay. You can give him problems. He can throw the ball into coverages. He can hold on to it a little too long with coverage, but maybe he grows out of that. Dylan, the guy we all have to remember is Josh Allen. Josh Allen at Wyoming was completing between 54 and 57% of his passes. It was not against a high level of competition. All right. Josh Allen was big, strong, athletic, but it would have been real easy to form the conclusion he is not going to be a good enough thrower 7, 8 yards behind center for a team to ever challenge for a Super Bowl. And for his first 2 years in the league, he still wasn't. And then by year 3, he was becoming a star. So I think if you're drafting Milroe, you need to commit to 3, 4 years. This could take a while. He could look bad at times early. And I think you just have to live with it. Buffalo lived with it. Teams don't do a lot of living with it these days. They make it like Anthony Richardson. The Colts should be playing him every snap. You drafted him fourth overall. He's entering his third year. You should not be having a quarterback competition. All right. Either you're all in with Richardson or you're not. And to me, they're trying to go halfway. Well, that's not going to develop him, and we're never going to get to see if, in fact, he was worthy of being picked.
Yeah, and I also feel like it depends on what team you go to. Buffalo was patient enough to give Allen time. You go to the wrong team. If Jay Miller went to the wrong team and is playing right away, bad things are going to happen. Like if Jay Miller, if the Steelers needed him to play Week 1, that's a bad situation. Like Jay Miller plays Baltimore or Philadelphia Week 1, he's going to get his you know what kick.
The team that I hope takes him, like, there's a part of me that thinks like the Rams may draft a quarterback in the first round, that they know they probably got about 2 more years of Stafford. And then they probably want to move on from him because he'll be approaching 40 and contractually it'll be a big number. So why don't you draft a Milrow, a Dart, whoever you think the guy is, the Louisville kid, the Syracuse kid, and maybe you don't have to draft them to your second round selection. But Dylan, I got a feeling the Rams in their first or second round are going to take the heir apparent to Stafford. And if it's in the first round, I have a feeling it could be Milrow.
I don't think that's the worst idea, but the Rams don't have a second round pick, and we know the Rams always like trading back, so
Right.
I don't
And with Milrow, you probably could trade back and still get him. There's a lot of that. I mean, Atlanta's only got 5 picks. Washington's only got 4. There's a few teams this year who only have 4 or 5 draft picks, don't have second rounders. We'll see if they move around.
think Minnesota's only got 4 picks because they traded all those picks last year for
Right.
McCarthy and Dallas Turner. This feels like the strongest running back draft I can remember in a long time. We know how good Ashton Jeanty is. Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. The 2 Ohio State running backs, whether they're day 1 or early day 2 picks. I think Henderson's a better pass catcher running back. I think Junkins will. It's just physical, 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 and not a lot of wear and tear with Junkins.
Yeah, Travion Henderson from Ohio State's my guy. That's the guy where late first round, you're going to have to talk me out of taking him. And I know people are trying to, wait till the early second round. I don't know. I think he's a stud. And I mean a stud. Like he'll be better on Sundays than he is on Saturdays. First off, he's the best blocking tailback I've seen in college football in a while, probably since the last stud running back at Ohio State. Okay, seriously. He destroyed people on the blitz at Ohio State, did Travion Henderson. That's a big thing. That keeps you on the field as a rookie on Sundays in the NFL. You get benched as a wide receiver or a running back quickly when you can't adjust to the blitz in the NFL. What keeps you on the field is when you're great against the blitz. I think Travion Henderson's a stud. Stud. Like Najee Harris went, 24th overall? I think he's better than Najee Harris. Okay, I do. I'll tell you what, it would not surprise me. I don't think he goes earlier than this, but he seems a perfect Jim Harbaugh guy to me.
Oh wow!
Perfect Jim Harbaugh guy to me.
I'm willing to make a bet with somebody. The Chargers are going to draft a Big Ten player at 22, whether it's Henderson or maybe the tight end at a particular school. I'm not sure.
Well, it's a great draft for tight ends too. Now, Loveland will probably be gone before Harbaugh can get his hands on him at 22. And certainly Tyler Warren's going to be gone. But there's the Bowling Green kid, there's the Miami kid. I mean, there's a couple other tight ends that people think, much like the running backs, Dylan. Usually people want to wait until early Friday to take these guys. They're good enough where it would not surprise me because I think they're better than the wide receivers are at that point of the draft, if you know what I mean.
I think Mason Taylor is a potential day one pick too. I don't know how LSU did not use him well, but for some reason, I think Mason Taylor might be better on Sunday. Like if he ended up with one of these teams, maybe not a day or a day one pick, but certainly day two pick, I think Taylor is a great option. What if he ended up with?
Well, first off, what if he ended up in New Orleans? He could just stay in that state, but also what if he ended up with the Dolphins? You
I
know,
mean, his old man is in the Hall of Fame, but I think Miami's got its own. Miami's got more issues than
well,
this tight end.
and mom's related to another Hall of Fame linebacker, so you know,
Um, we mentioned. I mean, offensive line. I mean, I think Will Campbell's probably the best left tackle in this draft. Membu from Missouri looks
his
like a
stock is exploding, by the way. There's talk of him going even ahead of Campbell in some places. I think that's a little high. I love Campbell's experience and durability. I would take him over the Missouri tackle. I take him over the Texas tackle. But I do think, D, that you're going to see three tackles go in the top.
15.
Oh, definitely. May even go top 11. Like this reminds me a lot. What was the draft that the Bucks traded up one spot to secure that they got Tristan Wirfs? It
Uh,
was considered a four tackle draft, and three of them had gone. Becton went at 11, turned out to be a bust, and the Bucks made sure that they got a tackle, and they traded up one spot to 13 or 14 to get Wirfs.
the
Was it 20?
2020 draft.
Okay. And to me, this draft reminds me a lot of that, where the thought heading into that draft was we had four guys, and then we may not have a guy drafted for the rest of the first round. And now I think we're going to have more drafted in the first round because I think there's just too much need. You know, Kansas City desperately needs one. Like to me, if I'm Kansas City and the fourth best tackle in the draft is available at 13, 14, 15, I'm trading up to get him. I got Patrick Mahomes, for goodness sakes. I know I've only got 5 draft picks and I may not have the draft capital to do this, but I'm trading up to get him if I'm Kansas City. At Miami at 13, Atlanta at 15, I'm calling them if one of the top 4 tackles is available. Never mind if one of the top 3 tackles is available.
Yeah, I feel like Memba. I don't know. I think Memba's good, but I feel like Memba's just the right tackle. I think Campbell can play left tackle. Sure, the short arms don't help, but I feel like Memba's just the right tackle.
Well, maybe to start. And listen, Panay Sewell's the right tackle. That's working out okay. Wirfs, even though they moved him to left tackle, was a better right tackle. That's working out okay.
You know. And then who's the? And then Kelvin Banks. I don't think Kelvin Banks was 100% at all this year. I mean, not great this year. Struggled against Georgia, but Banks to me was better 2 years ago. So maybe you get a discount on him.
Yeah, maybe he falls. Maybe he falls a little bit. But teams need tackles. It's why I think there'll be 6, possibly even 7 that go in the first round. There's just too much need at the position.
Yeah, and you know what teams also need? Somebody to stop the Patrick Mahomes. That being the pass rushers. Abdul Carter, we know how good he is. Little concerned about the injury history, but Penn State produces all these linebackers. What linebacker you? So I mean, is Abdul Carter as good or maybe better than Micah Parsons?
I don't know if he's better because I think Micah was more durable in college, and also Micah has a little more weight on him. Like I think there's some concern about how Abdul is going to hold up against the run. I do think he's a double-digit sack guy, though. I think his speed is, you don't see it very often. And so it's difficult for me to imagine. It's why if I was Cleveland, I would take Abdul Carter. Nothing against Travis Hunter, but I got a guy on the other side who's getting double teamed. I would love to put Abdul Carter in a situation where he's going to get single teamed because I think he'd wreak havoc on opposing offenses if I can get, as opposed to if he's going to get double teamed, well, okay, he's a speed rusher. Well, the tackle makes him go to the outside. You got the tight end or the back to chip him. You can negate him a little bit. I'd love to have Abdul Carter in a situation where, oh, I got the stud. Imagine Abdul Carter in Pittsburgh. No, we know it won't happen, but obviously you got Watt on the one side. Well, what would Carter get on the other? He'd get nothing. Okay. So, I mean, I would love to create. So, and I would do that if I was Cleveland. Plus, to me, I think the dominant pass rusher can cause more havoc than the shutdown corner.
Yeah, I mean, if not for Jalen Carter sacking Matthew Stafford in the playoffs, the Rams might have gone to the NFC Championship game.
Well, yeah, might have gone to the Super Bowl. I mean, they had a guy wide open in the end zone if Jalen Carter wasn't putting Stafford on his back. So, yeah. I mean, the Giants shut down Brady and the Patriots twice, and they didn't do it with their secondary.
Nope. Although didn't the Corey Webster intercept Brett Favre in the Ice Bowl?
Yeah, but Favre threw it behind his wide receiver. I mean, he kind of threw it to Corey Webster, but I hear you.
And then it wouldn't be a draft without at least one Georgia pass rusher. And the more and more I keep hearing, this Walker kid feels like he could go in the top. I mean, I'm hearing him maybe 5 to Jacksonville, but maybe 8 to Carolina.
Oh, I'd be shocked if he went to Jacksonville. They've got 2 pass rushers. If they take a defensive lineman, to me, it has to be an interior one. It has to be a D tackle. But I think you're going to end up with more defensive linemen drafted than any other position on Thursday. This is a very, very deep draft for defensive linemen. Very. When you can get a Kenneth Grant in
At
the
20,
mid-20s or later, okay, that's how deep this draft is. Because I know some NFL guys that like him better than Mason Graham, who's expected to go in the top 5. And he was lining up right next to him. So, I hope you like big uglies because
because
between the offensive linemen and the defensive linemen, in fact, 15 and a half will be my over-under number. Offensive and defensive linemen taken in the first round of this draft. It'll probably be a little under that, but I'll bet you the number gets to at least 14 on Thursday.
and you know what's going to happen for Kenneth Grant? He's going to end up with one of these playoff teams. Like, what if Kenneth Grant ended up with the Bills or the Ravens? I mean, like, remember the draft where the Ravens took the center, Tyler Lindenbaum, and Kyle Hamilton. Everybody's like, what are the Ravens doing? You know what the Ravens are doing? Getting good football players. Guess what Kenneth Grant's going to be for somebody? Really good football player.
No doubt about it. Take a look at the teams. Like, I don't know if the Rams would do it because they loaded up on the defensive line last year, but it'll be tough to pass Kenneth Grant if you're on the board at that spot. If you're the Rams, how about the Texans? They've loaded up a defensive end. How about a Kenneth Grant in the middle?
I think,
How
I think
about the
Houston.
Ravens?
I think Houston might need to protect C.J. Stroud a little more.
Yeah, maybe. But yes, they're a very good team, and there are going to be multiple of these big offensive and defensive linemen who are plug and play guys that are going to be drafted in the 20s by teams that are already good.
Yeah, the Zabel kid from North Dakota State feels like he could play anywhere on the old line. Like, what if he ends up with Kansas City?
Well, and I think Tampa Bay is going to take a pass rusher. I know they've interviewed a lot of corners, all right, in which I actually think that they're a player to maybe trade for Jalen Ramsey. But I would have to think if I'm Tampa Bay that with this draft, I think I'd go D lineman, and I might even be able to get a pass rusher at 19.
Yeah, maybe a Shamal Stewart, maybe a Mikael Williams. I think there's a Wenezu from Boston College. A lot of guys available. I mean, Detroit needs a pass rusher at 28. Buffalo probably needs a corner. So there'll be a lot of defensive guys the back half of the draft.
Absolutely. And also, how many quarterbacks are we taking? Two, three. How many wide receivers are going to go in this
Ooh,
first round?
yeah.
Three? Will we even get to four? Maybe, but close. We're going to have two tight ends, but will we have a third? Like, I'd argue the third tight end is better than the fourth or fifth receiver in this draft.
I mean, I don't know if this is true, but who do you have at your top receiver? Is it T McMillan or was it one of the Golden or maybe Burton? Heck, Ibuka could be the number one receiver.
Well, I don't think he will be, but I like Ohio State wide receivers in terms of drafting them and then having them be productive players for you for 7, 8 years. And I think he'll go in the 20s. But uh, I would probably put my money on the Arizona kid just because he's 6'4".
Yeah, I feel like McMillan's got a lot of Drake running in him. I mean, not necessarily going to run by you, but in that 50-50, be a productive, consistent wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't know. Amon St. Brown, how much running by you does he do? Puka
Yeah,
Nakua, how much running by you is he doing? I can get a good route runner with really good hands who's a big target in the red zone. Okay. I mean, what if McMillan's a poor man, Mike Evans?
I don't think that's the worst. I mean, Mike Evans has scored 1,000 yards worth of passes for what? With what? For what? The last 79 years?
Well, every year has been in the league. Okay. But, you know, I, I'll be put it this way. If I'm drafting a receiver in the first round, I have to make sure he's not a bust.
Yeah.
I don't think the Arizona kid's going to be a bust.
What do you think the Cowboys do at 12? I mean, heck, is there a chance McMillan's there for Jerry Jones to take?
Yes. I don't know with all the losses that they've had if they can go. Like, I do think if Genty by chance is still there, they would take him. That he would just be too good to pass up. And there is some wonderment if Genty gets past, say, the Raiders at 6. Who's going to take him? So could he get all the way to 12?
Wow.
I don't know. But I think that's the floor for Genty. But to me, the Cowboys have lost so much at the line of scrimmage the last couple years. If I'm Dallas, I'm drafting the best lineman, offensive or defensive, who's on the board at 12. And in fact, I'm doubling down with my next pick as well.
Oh, so you would go more offense and defense line. The problem is, I mean, with how much Dallas is paying Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and eventually Micah Parsons, the Cowboys are going to need excitement somewhere. I mean, heck, the Eagles just signed Cam Jurgens. I'm like, how are the Eagles signing everybody and the Cowboys are shopping at Dollar Tree?
Well, because Jerry waits too long to sign people and then ends up paying full price. And then they end up having contracts structured in a way that are salary cap hell. So, you know, I mean, Howie Roseman's a much better GM than Jerry Jones. Enough
I don't,
said.
I don't think there's a question of who the best GM in football is. He's in Philly.
Well, he's certainly top 3. I mean, the guy in Kansas City's done a terrific job. The guy in Baltimore does a consistently really good job. I don't know if anybody the last 3 years has done a better job than Brad Holmes in Detroit. I mean, has not missed on much.
Throwing less Snead.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the Rams who rebuilt on the fly while losing Aaron Donald. Pretty good. Pretty good.
I mean, two more. One. You live in Jacksonville. You know me. I'm a Jack fan. So, what will Jacksonville do on Thursday night? Because seemingly, I think I believe the Jags take Mason Graham. I mean, he just shut down Ohio State's offensive line in the game, and we know. But the more and more I hear, the more at Janty becomes available. Do the Jags go with Graham, or maybe they take Janty?
I think they go Mason Graham for two reasons. And I know there's a whole lot of, hey, new coach and he's offensive minded, and the new GM is going to listen to the coach and do what he wants. This is where I think Tony Baselli, as president of football operations, gets his wish. Tony, if you're a Jags fan, Tony's been broadcasting their games for a while. Tony has thought the Jags have been soft for a while. Tony, when he got the gig, the only public comments he really made was, we got to get better at the line of scrimmage. So I would be surprised if his first pick is not a big ugly, whether it was an offensive tackle like himself or whether it was a defensive tackle. But I would be shocked if the Jags shocked. And I know there's talk of Genty and what have you. I'd be shocked. They've got two guys who can rush the passer in Walker and Allen. Okay. Teams ran for 6 yards a carry against them last year.
That's inexcusable.
Yeah. They need Mason Graham. Okay, desperately. Desperately. That's who I would take if I was Jacksonville. The two guys that, if I'm putting my job on the line in this first round, it'd be Campbell, the tackle from LSU, and it'd be Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan. If I'm New England and Jacksonville, boom, boom, Vegas is on the clock. Let's go.
And then, if you were the New York Giant brass, you got the number 3 pick, assuming Cam Ward goes 1, and I mean, even though you may not like him, Hunter goes 2. Are you taking Shador Sanders, or are you taking Abdul Carter?
I'm taking Abdul Carter. Okay. I still have questions about Sanders. I can't have any questions if I'm drafting a quarterback 3rd overall, making him the future of the franchise. And I still have questions about Shador, and I would have questions about Shador in New York also. No, I'm taking Abdul Carter. You can never have enough pass rushers. The Giants showed that during their last glory days version when they had more pass rushers than anybody else. You can move pass rushers inside, all right? You can have multiple pass rushers on the field at the same time. Okay. I would draft. They had the chance. To draft Micah Parsons and passed. And if this kid is a poor man's Micah Parsons, I don't think you can pass. And another reason, D, why I don't think they can pass is the jury's still out on Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, they haven't done it yet, but they're probably going to pick up his 5th-year option. But that would even give them only 2 more years with a guy who, quite frankly, has not lived up to being drafted 5th overall. So I would go with the Penn State pass rusher.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be a fascinating decision because if Shador doesn't go 3, then what are then I look at New England and Jacksonville because guess what both those teams have? Quarterbacks. So somebody's going to be calling New England or somebody's going to be calling Jacksonville.
I don't know that anybody's calling for Shador Sanders, to be brutally honest with you. I don't know that there's that much demand for Shador Sanders. I think that he's there for the Raiders at 6, and if they pass on him, then he's there for New Orleans at 9. I think people start calling around for Shador Sanders if he makes it into the teens. Then I think maybe somebody calls Atlanta at 15 and says, hey, you need draft picks. We got them. Okay. You want to do a deal? Okay. But I don't know that people are giving up draft picks for Shador Sanders. I haven't heard that.
In fact, I don't think there'll be many trades this year. I mean, maybe a team trading back into the first round for a quarterback, whether it be New York, Cleveland, or somebody, maybe the Saints.
Yeah, I think you'll have a little bit of teams in the 20s trying to move up. And yes, you'll have a couple of look at all the teams early in the second round who don't have a quarterback who may be looking to get in and take their quarterback. But yes, put it this way, D, I think you have a chance to have one trade in the first half of this first round. And I think you have a chance to have 0 trades in the first half of the first round.
If that's the case, then Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport are going to be bored Thursday night.
Well, they're going to keep coming on and telling you what's being talked about, but obviously not happening. But
you and Miller going to be hosting a draft
not
stream?
normally we do. We're not going to this year. Just a 1-year sabbatical. It's our favorite show of the year too, but we're not going to do it this year. And but we'll have comprehensive coverage of the draft before and afterwards. MillerandMoulton.com.
Yeah, can't wait to see what happens this week in Green Bay. Green Bay, heck, maybe Aaron Rodgers will sign a contract somewhere, right?
I think the Steelers would like that.
Maybe if they don't get a quarterback.